Hey, welcome back to this edition of Diamond Talk. It's the season opener for the Savage Storm. Baseball season is underway, and we've got Coach Zach Crabtree with us. Coach, your team, 4-game series against Northwest Missouri State at home, played on January 31st. As far as I can tell, that's the first game ever in January here at the school. And they were rated 8th in in the MIAA preseason. You guys were picked to finish 8th, so a pretty good matchup. How do you think it went?
I thought it was pretty clean baseball for the most part for opening weekend. Like you said, being in January, I thought they were very offensive. They were very physical, and they did a good job offensively. And then they took advantage of some mistakes we made in some games, and took some advantage of some base on balls that we gave up late in Game 4. But I thought it was two good, evenly matched teams that went 2-2 against each other.
2-2 was the final. You won the first game and the third game. They won the second game and the fourth game, I think, if that's right. But you had pretty good starting pitching in 3 of the 4 games. Were you satisfied with that?
Yeah, I thought our starting pitching was really good. And, in Game 2, Teskey had a bad outing.
You've seen him before. You know he's capable.
It was just, I don't think we'll see that again. It was just one of those things. They had a couple, they let off the game with an error, and then they had a couple Texas leaguers and mixed in a couple 3-run homers, and it got out of hand in a hurry, and we just had to try to wear that one and save some pitching for the next 2 games. And we had a couple guys that did okay. Spencer Wallace came in the first and kept it at a 7-run game or 7-1 game till the 5th, and he's not ready to be extended out to 4 innings. He's about a 2-inning guy, and we just tried to ride him out a little bit long to save some arms for later in the series, and he kind of got away. But then we rebounded with a great pitching performance from Davis Jinks. It was just outstanding in Game 3 there to hold him to 1 run and go 6 innings. And
that was a 2-1 victory.
2-1, yeah. And their 3 and 4 hitters are both first team all MIAA last year. Those 2 guys could really hit.
Well, this is your 3rd season here at Southeastern. The first 2 years you opened up on the road in little festivals. This year you have opened up at home. Did you like the change up, being able to play on your home field to start the season? I
like the change because we're more of a regular times that we're going to play throughout the season. When we were in those festivals, some days we played at 10 in the morning, and when you're in a hotel, you got to get up and eat, and you're at the ballpark 2 hours before first pitch, and so it just makes for some odd times. And here you guys get to sleep in their own bed, get to play at home, and we had great weather, especially Saturday and Sunday, and great crowds out all 3 days. And I'd prefer to play at home. I get to see my family more and get to eat at home and not eat out on the road, and so I'd prefer to play at home.
Well, you're going to do that a lot here at the beginning of the year because you've got a 4-game series coming up this next weekend with Northeastern. Then you got conference play opens in 2 weekends, and that's at home as well against Oklahoma Baptist.
Yes, sir. So we got, like you said, Northeastern coming in this weekend. 1 on Friday, 2 Saturday, 1 Sunday, weather permitting. There's a chance of snow on Wednesday, so we'll see. But again, it's it'll be their openers for them. They didn't play this past weekend, and so I think we should have a little bit of an advantage. We've played 4 games, and hopefully our guys have, gotten their feet wet, and we've got some of those first game jitters out of the way. And we've seen some really good things from our squad this past weekend, and we've seen some things we need to address. But I think overall, I think you take away the first inning of Game 2, and then the game kind of got away in the 7th in Game 4. But other than that, I thought our guys competed really well. We pitched well, except those innings there. And, we played pretty clean defense. We had 4 errors on the weekend. 2 of them really hurt, jump-started big innings for those guys. But other than that, I thought our defense played really well. We had a true freshman playing shortstop, and I think he had 14 chances and didn't have an error. And he's going to be really special. He just needs to get a little stronger at the plate, But defensively, he's going to be really good. And like I said, I think our guys, we played well defensively. And for the first 5 innings in Game 4, I thought we played about as good and as clean as we could play, and had built that 5-1 lead, or 5-1 lead, I'm sorry. And like I said, we walked 1 guy the first 5 innings and walked 10 innings 6 through 9. So you're not going to win doing that.
Well, I was going to ask you next up, you've got a pretty good mixture of returning guys and new guys on this team. What do you think about that? You like having that kind of a combination?
Well, I'd like to get where we had more returners and you kind of just mixed in, and we're getting that way. It's a process. It's people have asked me what's the big difference in junior college and NCAA Division II. And one's the recruiting, and one getting the right mix and finding your niche in recruiting, and it takes a little longer to get what you like to play with and the type of guys that you want. And we're getting there. We're not quite where we want to be, but we've made some strides, and we're a lot better off than for the style that we want to play than what we've been the last couple of years. And it's just a process, and I'm not real patient, so I don't like the process. I like the results.
Our guest is Zach Crabtree, head baseball coach at Southeastern. This is Diamond Talk. So you mentioned the way we want to play. How would you describe the way that you want to play?
We like to pitch and play good defense, and then play a lot of small ball. But doing that, we want to have some guys in the middle order that can hit the ball out of the park. We don't want to have all home run hitters. We like to have a good mix and guys that can handle the bat. And I think we're getting some guys that can handle the bat, but we don't really have the
big masher.
The big mashers in the middle. The guys we got are good players. I'm not taking away. We're going to win a lot of games with them, but we just don't have the prototype 3-4 hitters. We got some 2 and 5-hole hitters kind of mixing in the 3 and 4-hole hit spots right now, and we just got to do a better job finding them and get them in here to be Savage Storms the next couple of years.
Are you an analytics guy? It seems like it's become so popular at a lot of different levels. You're old school.
I'm more traditional, I would say. I think I trust my eyes more than I do numbers on paper. All those things don't add up. You can shift and do all this, but if you're not throwing the exact same guy that the other team's throwing, they may have their starting pitchers may be 90 to 93, and ours may be 85 to 87. So it's a big difference in pitching and what guys are going to do against your pitching. And so I trust my eyes a little bit more than numbers and what's on paper. And so I still believe in sacrifice bunting. A lot of people don't believe in wasting outs, but
we've led the conference, I think, your first 2 years in sacks.
Well, and we'll continue. It's one thing. At our 7 years at Murray State, we were very offensive those 7 years, and we were top 10 in the country in average extra base hits, RBIs, and home runs all 7 years. But we were also top 5 in the country all 7 years in sack bunts. So,
well, I've seen you have your cleanup hitter bunt before.
We will do that.
Yeah,
so
you don't see that very often in today's baseball. Well, speaking of modern technology and stuff like that, are you a big social media guy, or how about your kids, your team, your youngsters you got on your team? Do you communicate with them via that?
We communicate through a GroupMe app, so I can communicate all of them at once. But I'm on social media, but I'm not tweeting every day.
How about in recruiting? Does it come into play there?
I think it comes into play. I think that's one of the things that has changed the game of recruiting. You used to be able to get out and outwork people and find guys and be on the road more and trust contacts. But now everything's on social media. Everybody's got a Twitter or Instagram, or I don't know what all the other ones are. I don't have all that stuff. But Snapchat, whatever all that stuff is. But now everybody's paying for some kind of scouting service, and they're sending everything out, and you get emails and everything on Twitter. And so some guys can just sit at home and tweet, and some of us are out trying to beat the bushes, and everybody's on Twitter, So it's changed the game of recruiting quite a bit, and from all levels. I talked to Coach Tadlock at Texas Tech, and he talks about the same thing. When he was at Grayson, and even at Tech, he's just an amazing recruiter. And we was having this conversation the other day, or about a month ago, about how recruiting's changed and how, you can't get out and beat the bushes as much because so many guys are on social media and Twitter and all these things, and it's hard to outwork everybody because everybody's at their fingertips on their devices now.
But there's always a way.
There's a way.
There's always a way. It takes a while maybe to figure it out with new technology and the way things are changing. But so anyway, your team off to a quick start here because it's a little bit early. I mean, I don't know if it's just because when the season started happened to be on a Friday that was January 31st, but early, and like you said, we had nice weather. I think we set the all-time record high on Sunday in Durant. It hit 81.
Did it really?
Yeah.
And what's funny is next year's schedule, is the same weekend, but all 3 games opening weekend will be in January, all 3 days.
Oh, okay.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I think the next year it switches back. It's how the calendar falls.
Yeah.
Coach Lowe and I were discussing, because they're coming back down to start the year out next year again, and
Okay,
we was
cool.
discussing the dates, and he's like, man, I hope it's back a week. And we looked this morning, and it's the same week, and it'll be like January 29th, 30th, and 31st.
Well, since we don't play at home this early in the year, yesterday happened to be Groundhog Day. Were there any like groundhogs out in the outfield that popped up or anything that might have seen their shadow or anything?
I think one might have been popping up on the infield between the pitcher's mound and home plate about the 6th inning, because it startled us and we couldn't throw strikes after that.
That's right. But and did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did watch the Super Bowl.
Did you have a dog in the hunt?
No, I'm a Patriots, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick fan, and so I was
You
happy.
probably weren't rooting for the Chiefs then.
Well, I was kind of wanting Andy Reid to win one. I like him. He's been a great coach for a long time and got a great coaching tree underneath him, and never heard a bad word about the guy. And so, and my brother-in-law used to play for the Chiefs, and so
Really cool.
So that's kind of. I was neutral.
It's in the family.
Yeah, I was neutral, but I just wanted a good game, and we got one.
Well, here's one thing that a lot of fans might not know about being a head coach in baseball at this level and levels below this, high school, junior college. You're about half a coach and half a groundskeeper.
Yeah, that's true.
And you have to get the field ready early in the year. It's probably the grass isn't really growing. I know you plant that rye out there and it looked great, but that takes a lot of work that people don't really notice.
Well, Sunday morning I was mowing the infield at 7:15
Yeah.
a.m. and so
Sunday morning.
and so before 12 o'clock first pitch, and so that's just kind of part of it. And if you take pride in it, and you got to put in a lot of work, and that's just kind of part of the position here. And it's all I've known, being a high school coach and a junior college coach. Sometimes we'd joke around, and Coach Traylor would say, "You think Coach Tadlock or Coach Johnson at OU's mowing the field today, or edging, or sweeping the dugouts out?" And I'm like, probably not. But
Nope.
so.
Someday maybe you'll be at that situation. Well, it is a lot of work, and the field looked great, by the way.
Well, thank you.
All right, that's Zach Crabtree. Got 4 games starting. I think the Friday game is at 2 with
o'clock.
Northeastern, and then doubleheader at noon on Saturday, and I think it's noon on Sunday. Is
1
it?
o'clock.
1 o'clock.
1
Oh, yeah,
o'clock
that's
on
right.
Sunday.
1 o'clock on Sunday. 4-game series this weekend with Northeastern. The weather's as nice as it was this past weekend. Head out to the baseball. Well, you can show up. Whether it's nice or not, just bring a blanket with you. That's going to do it for this edition of Diamond Talk with head coach Zach Crabtree. We'll see you next week.